I believe that we all have a need, a desire, if you will, to be part of something, to be part of the world, to be part of society, to be a positive, productive part of society. And often it can be difficult for some to do that. Imagine, if you will, your child goes to apply for a job, whatever it is, and they're qualified, equally qualified, as most other people that applied for the job, as qualified as any other top applicant, maybe slightly more qualified. But what if it was you? And they hire the other person, not even arguably less qualified. And the reason is because your child or you are disabled, and they don't want to have to deal with it. Just imagine how you would feel knowing that's even a possibility. As a disabled person myself, I have seen this. And let me go back a ways. When I first went to college, and it was at the University of South Dakota at Springfield, in Springfield, South Dakota, before it was a prison, and I went into electronics technology. I was an average student. I did fairly well in my electronics courses, and some of them I even excelled to some extent. But I'll be honest, I didn't try that hard. I just thought I'd just get by being an average student and doing okay. And I will be honest, I did not pay as close attention to the rest of the classes as I should have, as I did with the electronics classes. And I didn't do very well overall. Again, my electronics classes, I got B's and C's and a couple A's. I did okay. The other classes, not so much. And after 2 years, I left, kind of by mutual agreement. And, my GPA was not very good. And so I went out in the real world and started looking for work in the electronics industry. And I applied in a number of places. There were a number of openings. And in a number of cases, I was equally qualified, and more so than the average person that was applying, because I had some electronics background, and many of the people that I was applying, that were also applying, had none, had no background at all. And so, and I took, they had these entrance exams, and in a couple cases, I did very well on them, better than average. But I was never hired. I was never even given a call back. I realized something, that we can have all the laws that we want, but the bottom line is, very often when it comes to a case of hiring a disabled person or the next person, they're going to hire the next person, and without any other additional incentives or reasoning. Maybe you're related to somebody, maybe that'll get you in. But generally, it happens. It happened to me. I decided I couldn't be as good as the next person. I couldn't be average and make it. No matter how hard I was determined to try, nobody even gave me a chance. So, after a couple years of floundering around and trying some things on my own, including an electronics repair, and then finding out, what really pushed me over the edge was I had someone call and want me to work on their television in their home, and they explained what the problem was, and I knew it was something that I could easily handle. And a little while before I was scheduled to go there, they called back and said that they had went another way and they had taken care of it. Someone else told me, who knew them, that the reason was because they found out that I was disabled and they were worried about me being in their house. And at the time I walked on with braces and crutches, and I could do steps. I could get pretty much anywhere that any, if you will, normal person could get to, but didn't matter. At that point I made the determination that I needed to maybe go back to college, and then I couldn't be mediocre anymore, that I had to work and work hard and prove myself. I got lucky in a way. I went back to the University of South Dakota at Springfield, still before it was a prison, but just before. And I started working at the radio station there because I thought, well, you know, a disc jockey, it shouldn't make much difference. And I did well with that. But in my electronics classes, which I picked up again, I was determined to be at or near the top of the class in every class, and in every other class too. And I took my first computer classes, and it turned out that I had a gift, a flair for computers. It turned out that the things that I had to develop to survive being disabled were the exact things that could make me be good at computers. Not just as good as the next guy, better, noticeably better. And I tried very hard. I worked hard. I was pretty much at the top of every one of my classes within the, first one or two people, and in many cases by far the top, because I worked hard, because I knew I had to. I didn't have a choice. When things changed and moved around and stuff, eventually I got up to SDSU in Brookings, and finished out my electronics degree, and decided to go to grad school. And luckily in grad school they don't, it's a little bit easier in some ways because, you're getting some kind of a stipend. So teaching a class or something, quite often it's basically warm body time. But I was determined I was going to be more than a warm body, that I was going to prove to them that I could be better. And I tried very hard, and as a teacher, but also at the same time I started working in the computer electronics industry. And wherever I went in with a positive attitude. As a service person, I looked at it very differently than your average computer nerd at the time. I felt like I had to prove something. And beyond that, since I had such a positive attitude about it, one thing that I didn't even notice or think about was I went into it with a smile. And somebody said that to me years later when I was being very successful with computers, and I had a following of people who trusted me and would in fact probably go no place else if they had a choice. They would select me and not even look elsewhere because of the dedication that I put into it. And I remember one of them saying back to me that the thing is you get it done. You always get it done, but always with a smile, and that really means a lot to us. And that was a company that I'd worked with for a number of years. And I'd come to realize that the disabled worker very often feels inside themselves they have to prove something. And very often you will find them to be the most dedicated workers you have. Also, the ones that maybe are the most likely to show up with a smile. And very often are people, I'm not going to say it was me, that I was the person that brightened up everybody's day when I walk into the room. I certainly won't say that I was that. But I know that many disabled are. And as it turns out, the disabled employee very often is some of the best employees that you will ever have. Dedicated, hardworking, care about the job, will be there if they possibly can. As we're getting into the National Disability Employment Awareness Month, I think it's time to stop and think about it. Think about the disabled and employing them, but also look at it from, what if it was you? What if you were the one who was disabled and needed that job, not maybe so much even just for the income, but that well-being, that being part of something, feeling like you're not a burden on society, but a good contributing part of society, making things better in the job, in the workplace, whatever it is.